Hi guys, it's Frank from Adventures Outdoors. Today I thought we would do a little pull test with some hard jerk baits, and so I thought it would be kind of an interesting test. I had to take the hooks off because I didn't want to ruin my pool, so it doesn't quite simulate exactly what the jerk bait would be doing with the extra weight of the hooks, but it's a good simulation. It lets you see what the actions are and how it works. And again, it's not an ideal, sort of test because we're in a pool that's 24 feet long, and it doesn't really mimic lake conditions with a long cast. But it does give you some idea as to how the lures look underwater and how different reeling techniques will the actions that will result from the different techniques. So I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please let me know. Hit that like button, leave me a comment. If you'd like to see more, please let me know, because we could always do some rubber swim baits. We could do some Carolina rig tests and Ned tests and Texas rig and all the rigs. We can do whatever tests we want to do with the pool, so I think this would be fun. I found it very educational. I learned a lot just doing these tests. So let me know if you want to see some more of this, and we'll get it done. So please enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Generally speaking, I really like this bait. This is a red floating shad bait, and I love this bait in the spring. It seems to be always effective. Couple of things that were really interesting from this little experiment in the pool was there's a black streak down the back of it, and from a distance it's very black, and the red is just flashing. Now, I've always loved fishing with any bait that has some sort of red in it, whether it's a red bead or anything like that, because it kind of represents blood, and I think it has some instinctive properties on predator fish. So, but I love this bait. It works really well. Unfortunately, I think I was a little overzealous in the pool. I don't typically like jerk. There's always long pauses. There's always varied pauses in the delay between jerks. I think I was being a jerk and trying to make the action happen. So it didn't quite represent the way that I fish, because I certainly don't jerk things that fast without any pauses. I think most of you will agree, and most of you know, if you're fishing for bass especially, or pickerel, they love to crush these things when they're in the pause state, either floating back up or starting to sink back down. They really take advantage of that rather than the chase. Now later on, when the temperature gets up a little bit, then sometimes the chase can actually encourage a bite strike, so you can encourage them to go after it. But when the water's still cold, it's really important to have those long pauses and give the fish a chance to come up and just crush it and kill it. So it was a great little experiment, though. Still, I think I learned a lot from this. Hope you did too. On a steady retrieve, you can see that this bait will dive down quite substantially and be down through. So, I mean, I will vary this, right? Like, I will toss it out, jerk, long pauses. I'll do short pauses, but sometimes I'll do a steady retrieve, knowing that if there's a shallow bottom here, there's a good chance you're going to hook up. But if you do a steady retrieve, it's got a nice wobble to it, and it's got some pretty cool action. And the cool thing with the steady retrieve, especially during the summer, it can really entice bass to react to that chase sort of instinct and go after the bait. So it looks pretty cool in the retrieve. in steady retrieve. Hey guys, the secret word is jerkbait. Jerkbait. Leave a comment here in YouTube using the words jerkbait or having jerkbait inside the comment. And I'm going to do a draw in a couple weeks after this release, and you could win a prize. Not sure what that is yet. It'll probably be some cash that I could e-transfer you, or maybe some tackle. It'll be your preference, but we'll send that over to you. So leave a comment. Make sure inside it has jerkbait, and you might win something. So good luck. It was really apparent in with this one that without the hooks, it was less balanced, if you will. The jerkbait was a lot less balanced, and it dipped quite a bit. I think with the tail hook on there, probably would have leveled it out a little bit. But anyway, for the test, it was also very erratic. I knew, I know that these pencil sort of jerkbaits, they're always way more erratic. You got to keep that in mind, that the smaller, thinner, fatter Shad ones will have a nice kind of wobble to it. Sometimes that doesn't attract chase and doesn't attract a bite, so I'll switch it up to a pencil jerkbait and get that more aggressive sort of erratic movement. The steady retrieve has a really nice wobble to it. It's obviously a lot broader. It disturbs the water a lot more than the Shad bait. I noticed the rattle in this one in the pool was quite noticeable compared to the other ones. So obviously rattling makes a difference as well. So but overall, I like the test on this. It gave me some insight into this. Keeping in mind that obviously the pool water is extremely clear and not like any lake. But I found the more I test this, color is it can disappear in the water, or it's not exactly what you think it is. Just because it's bright red doesn't mean that it's going to appear bright red throughout the retrieve. So it's an interesting thing. Let me tell you, there's nothing more that I love than watching a big bass crush a popper. It has got to be one of the most exciting, exhilarating moments in a fisherman's adventure. There's no two ways about it. I love poppers. I fish them all the time. I even fish them when really you probably shouldn't be fishing them. But I just love topwater fishing. It's so satisfying to watch these bass just want to kill and devour this bait. In the pool test, I was surprised. I don't know what I was kind of expecting with it. I was maybe expecting a little more, that there'd be a little more disturbance to the water. But of course, it's only going to disturb the top layer. It's not going to disturb anything else. I don't know what I was expecting. We've all thrown lures out from weighted Ned rigs that as soon as they hit the water, they get crushed and pounced on. The splash in the water just activates that fish, and he just goes nuts. And the same thing happens with this, but I think maybe what's happening is that is kind of represented through the entire retrieve, almost like that. So it certainly does create that bite. So if I go to a lake, I know one of the things I've learned from this is that if I go to a lake and I throw in a Ned rig or something that's deep water and it hits the water and within seconds a bass crushes it, I'm going to move right to a popper and see what happens, because I think this was a really interesting experience. It's going to have me really looking at poppers differently, I think. Man, I really love these sinking jerk baits. This trout one is spectacular. I love it. The pool test was really kind of cool. I love the action of when it's diving. It's not so erratic. It's kind of calm and slowly diving down. So if the fish aren't reacting to sort of these big erratic movements of a pencil bait or something like that, maybe go to something like this, because that diving motion is very smooth and calm and could easily attract a predatory bite. I think that this is quite interesting. The other thing is, of course, this is a much deeper bait, so if you're in the shallows, this is not going to be a good one to be using, because it does dive and go into and make it deeper. What I thought was kind of really cool as well was to see, now granted, I mean, it's only a 24-foot pool, but to see how level the swim bait was during a steady retrieve. These packages on Rapella and the Bass Pro stuff, they'll give how many feet they're good for, like 7 or 8 or 4 or whatever. Well, there's no two ways about it. I mean, this bait was registered for 4 feet, and it was pretty well bang on. It stayed consistent there at that level, and during a steady retrieve, and it was perfect. Keep in mind now, sometimes with the sinking baits, like instead of just keeping my rod tip low and twitch, with this bait, sometimes I'll have my rod tip kind of high and pointed out, and it'll be twitch. So sometimes the method that I'll use in terms of the jerking motion of the bait, I'll change the levels of it, and that'll have a different reaction as well. It'll have a different approach. So play with it. Don't just constantly throw that lure out there and just reel it in nonchalantly. We see so many people do that. There's so much more to it. But I thought this was a really interesting test. I really enjoyed this one. So here's a bonus one. This is a deep diving floating shad. Most of you probably know that the longer the bill on these guys, the deeper they go. I love fishing lipless crankbaits as well, which wasn't part of this series, but this guy here has a long bill on it, so what happens is he dives really deep. He's an excessive deep diver, but he floats. So you can really, you can really sort of determine how deep it's going to go by, you can give it a few jerks and then really wait for it to rise back up again and give it a jerk. Or if you jerk it and retrieve it fast, it'll just dive right straight down. I like using this bait as well in certain areas. It creates covers a lot of ground, a lot of the water column. It can cover a huge portion of the water column. So, but this bait has its place, and I often use it in Grand Lake. Love it on the bigger lakes. But this guy works really well as well. I've caught tons of fish with it, so give it a try.
This is the world's best fishing buddy. Doesn't talk back to you, doesn't laugh when you hook into rocks and stumps and trees. He just sits patiently, watches you fish. He's absolutely in no rush. He's always chill and relaxed. He is the best fishing partner. And I also don't have to worry about him getting drunk and falling in the lake.
Hey guys, thanks for all the wonderful comments. I'm glad you're enjoying these videos as much as I enjoy producing them. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and head over to my Facebook page, Adventures Outdoors with Frank Zinck. As well, I have a Facebook group called Camping Life, and it's just tips and things for camping and meal recipes. So I hope you head on over, leave another comment over there. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.